Welcome to Porcelain Graves TV, where stories come to life with the eye imagery. Today we are going to be looking into Icelandic folklore, the tale of the sealskin maiden, or the Selkie. Once in the east of Myrtilur, a man went along the cliffs on the seashore early in the morning. He came to a mouth of a cave and heard the sound of merrymaking and dancing inside. Nearby he saw many sealskins. He took one of the skins, brought it home, and locked it in a chest. In the daytime, he came again to the cave. There sat a young and pretty woman who was naked and cried desperately. She was the seal whose skin the man had taken. He let her dress herself, comforted her, and brought her home with him. She has become attached to him, but did not get on with others. She often sat and looked at the sea. Sometime later, the man married her. They lived in harmony and had children. The farmer kept the seal's skin locked up in the chest and had the key with him wherever he went. Many years later, he once went outdoors and left the key at home under his pillow. Others say that the farmer went to celebrate Christmas with his men, but his wife was ill and could not go with them. While he changed his clothes, he left the key in a pocket of his everyday wear. When he came back home, the chest was open, and both the woman and the skin disappeared. She had taken the key, looked into the chest out of curiosity, and found the skin there. She could not resist the temptation, bade farewell to her children, put on the skin, and plunged into the sea. And before she plunged into the sea, they say, she whispered, "Where have I to flee? I've 7 kids in the sea, and 7 kids on dry land." They say the man grieved much for that. Afterwards, when he went fishing, a seal often swam around his boat, and it seemed that tears ran from her eyes. Ever since, that man always had good catch and was lucky. When their children went to the shore for a walk, people often saw a seal that swam in the sea not far from them, both when they were on land and near water, and threw motley fish and nice seashells to them. But their mother never came back. Here's a story inspired by the Selkie myth, woven with longing, secrecy, and the ache of love caught between worlds. I've leaned into your gift for emotional nuance and atmospheric tension, letting the tale unfold like a windswept memory. The skin beneath the waves, the sea had always whispered to Ewan, even as a boy. It wasn't the crash of surf or the cry of gulls that called him. It was something softer, sadder, a voice beneath the tide. He first saw her on a moonless night where the stars hung low and the waves glowed silver. She stood on the rocks, naked but unashamed, her seal skin folded beside her like a forgotten cloak. Her hair was dark as kelp, her eyes the color of storm water. She didn't flinch when he approached. She only watched him as if she already knew his name. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Neither should you," he replied. She smiled, and it was like the sea itself had curved into a secret. Her name was Maren. She came from the deep, where Selkies danced in moonlight and sang songs that could drown a man in longing. But she had shed her skin to walk the land, just for a night. Ewan should have turned away. Instead, he hid the skin. They married in spring. She bore him a son with eyes like hers, eyes that never stopped searching the horizon. Maren was kind but distant. She sang lullabies in a language no one else knew. She never swam, never touched the sea. Years passed. Ewan tried to forget the skin hidden beneath the floorboards, but guilt gnawed at him like salt on wood. He loved her, but he had stolen her freedom. One night, their son found the sealskin. He brought it to her, thinking it a gift. Maren wept, not with joy, but with sorrow so deep it silenced the house. She kissed her son's forehead. She kissed Ewan's lips, and then she walked into the sea. She did not look back. Ewan returned to the shore every night, hoping for a glimpse. Sometimes he thought he saw her just beyond the waves, watching, but she never came close. She had remembered who she was, and he had learned what love costs when it's built on captivity. Here's a romantic tale steeped in longing, secrecy, and the haunting beauty of the sea, woven in the spirit of emotionally rich storytelling, with a touch of historical atmosphere and mythic melancholy. The Ocean's Bride, Chapter 1, The Stranger on the Shore. The year was 1823, and the wind off the Orkney coast carried the scent of salt and secrets. Fishermen spoke of strange tides and seals that watched with eyes too human. But Thomas McCrae, a widowed lighthouse keeper with a poet's soul and a soldier's silence, paid no heed to superstition. His days were spent tending the flame, his nights scribbling verses he never showed anyone. One dusk, as the sea turned silver, he saw her. She stood on the rocks below the lighthouse, hair like kelp spun with moonlight, skin pale as driftwood, eyes wide with something ancient. She was naked, apart from a gray seal's skin draped around her. When she saw him, she didn't flee. She simply stared. Thomas descended the cliff path, heart thudding. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She tilted her head. "No, but I am stranded." He offered his coat. She accepted it with a nod, wrapping herself like someone unfamiliar with cloth. Her name, she said, was Undine. She would not say where she came from. That night, he hid her sealskin in the hollow beneath his floorboards. Chapter 2. The tides between us. Undine stayed. Days passed, then weeks. She never asked about the skin. She never tried to leave. She was strange in ways that unsettled the villagers. She never blinked, never shivered, and could charm fish from the water with a hum. But Thomas saw only grace. She read his poems, traced the ink with reverent fingers, and asked questions about the stars. They fell into a rhythm. She cooked with seaweed and herbs he didn't know the names of. He taught her how to light the beacon. At night, they lay together in silence, her breath like waves against his chest. But sometimes he'd wake to find her gone, only to see her standing waist deep in the surf, staring out to sea. "Do you miss it?" he asked once. She didn't answer, but her eyes glistened like tide pools. Chapter 3. The Skin Beneath. One stormy night, a fisherman arrived at the lighthouse, drunk and raving. "There's a Selkie in the village," he spat. "I saw her shed her skin. She's cursed. She'd drown us all." Thomas slammed the door in his face. That the seed of fear had been planted. Undine found him pacing. "You're afraid of me," she said softly. "No," he lied. She stepped closer. "You hid my skin." He froze. "I knew the moment you did," she whispered. "It's the first thing we feel, like a missing limb." He dropped to his knees. "I didn't want to lose you." "You never had me," she said, but her voice trembled. Chapter 4. The Choice. The next morning, he unearthed the sealskin and laid it on the shore. She stood beside him, wind whipping her hair. "If I take it," she said, "I'll forget you." "That's the price." He nodded, tears streaking his weathered face. "But if I stay," she continued, "I'll never touch the sea again. I'll grow old. I'll die." He reached for her hand. "Then let me grow old with you." She looked at him for a long time. Then she stepped back, wrapped the skin around her, and vanished beneath the waves. Epilogue. The keeper's vigil years passed. Thomas never remarried. He kept the lighthouse burning, wrote poems no one read, and walked the shore each morning. Sometimes seals would gather near the rocks, watching him with eyes too knowing. And once, on a moonlit night, a woman stood in the surf, hair like kelp, eyes like tide pools. She didn't speak. She didn't stay. But Thomas smiled and whispered, "I remember." She Who Walks the Shore, a remote Danish fishing village. 1643. The sea is feared as much as it is revered. Locals whisper of salt wives, mermaids who lure men to watery graves in exchange for their souls. They say she came from the deep, born of foam and blood. Not the kind of creature you'd find in a child's lullaby. No, this one wore sorrow like a veil and sang in tongues no priest could bless. The shoreline at dusk, a storm brews. A young fisherman, Elias, finds a woman tangled in seaweed, her skin pale as moonlight, her eyes black as ink. Elias kneeling beside her. You're alive. God help me, you're breathing. What are you? I was promised who I was meant to be wed, but he drowned me before the vows. Who did this to you? My husband. A prince. He feared what I was becoming. He feared the sea in my blood. You speak madness. There are no princes here. Only nets and salt and graves. Then you'll do. Elias brings her to the village chapel, where Father Matson, the local priest, recoils at the sight of her. She reeks of brine and blasphemy. That is no woman. That is a revenant. She needs shelter. She's been wronged. I only want legs to walk, to be loved, to be whole. Then you must pay. The sea does not give without taking. That night, Elias dreams of drowning. He wakes to find the mermaid standing over him, her feet bleeding. They said it would hurt. They didn't say it would scream. What did you do? I traded my voice for legs, but the voice, it had nowhere to go. So it found your sister. My sister is dead. Not anymore. The village begins to unravel. Children speak in tongues. Fish rot in nets. The sea refuses to yield. She's a salt wife. A drowned bride. You should have let her rot. She wants a soul. Should take one. And she'll keep taking until the sea is satisfied. Elias confronts the mermaid in the chapel, where she's dressed in a decaying wedding gown. You said you wanted love. You said you wanted to be whole. I did, but love is a hunger, and I'm starving. Then take mine, end this. You would die for me? I would drown for you. Then you shall. Elias walks into the sea, hand in hand with the mermaid. The village wakes to silence. No gulls, no waves. Only the chapel bell, ringing without wind. They say she still walks the shore in her wedding dress, looking for the next groom. And if you hear singing beneath the waves, don't answer. Not unless you're ready to wed the sea. And thus ends our tales of the Selkie maiden, the ocean's bride, and the salt wife that wanders the shores looking for her beloved. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more tales. From pixels to poetry, we've journeyed through the power of AI, where imagination meets innovation, and every image whispers a story waiting to be told. Whether you're crafting mythic worlds, historical romances, or visual memoirs, AI isn't replacing your voice, it's amplifying it. So whether you're a dreamer, a teacher, a creator, or just someone chasing the shimmer of a story, remember, the canvas is infinite and the tools are in your hands. Subscribe, share, and let's keep telling stories that move hearts and bend reality. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and let your stories flow like the tide.